Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. I have some new UFO footage I'm going to share with you guys today. They started showing up again, like hardcore, like steadily, and very actively on November 5th, which was election day. A bunch of these UFO craft, they show up primarily as orbs, but I'm going to go through all this footage, I'm going to narrate it, and stick around because I'm going through all of the last few days, like the 5th of November, the 6th, and the 7th, because they kept showing up day after day, and the footage gets more and more intense. I'm going to go in chronological order, and the last few clips from the 7th are like very, very, very weird, and you actually will be able to see the fleet of UFOs in all its glory. So I'm going to go through all the footage. I'm going to narrate everything as best I can so you guys know what I'm talking about and just to describe what you're seeing. You'll notice the timestamp in the bottom right of the footage. That's showing an hour ahead of what it was. We had a time change last weekend, and like always, I forgot to change the date on, or not the date, but the time on the camera. And for the past few days, all the footage is an hour off. So that is just something to keep in mind. The UFOs never usually arrive this early in the evening either. You can see in this footage, it's not completely dark out yet. This is like right before 6 o'clock in the evening. It gets dark out early here now in Canada. So usually, like when I would have all my other experiences, it would be late in the night. It'd be like 11 p.m., 11:30, 12 a.m., that sort of thing. This is the first time they've showed up so early, and I was not prepared. Like, my night vision was in the car. Like, I wasn't prepared at all. And then I saw these two lights in the sky moving together, two of these yellow, like, orb light things that, you might think they were satellites or stars or something at first, but it was very clear when I first saw them that they were two lights moving together, but they were obviously two separate lights. Okay, check this out. In this clip, you'll see something zip by from the bottom to the top. See that there? I don't know what that was, if that was just a coincidence that a meteor or something flew by, like right where I was pointing the camera. But that was something I thought was really weird. It seemed when I was filming it that it was a lot closer than like the regular orbs that I'm tracking, these yellow things. I swear they're not satellites, guys. I promise they're not satellites. And you'll see why, like later on in the footage, that you'll understand that they're not satellites. It's just very clear in the later clips as time and like the days go on. But I just kept filming these things moving across the sky, and more of them kept showing up, and it was just very, very odd. Okay, I'm not sure what to make about this light above the trees in this clip, but this is interesting to note later on, that light above the trees. You'll see. Now, I pan up and you can see a light moving from left to right, and then above it, there's now one moving from right to left, and they kind of cross paths here. And this happens a few times with a few different lights in this same clip as we move on. I'll keep tracking the one that's more to the right now, and more of these lights start coming in. The sky was super active this night, and it was very weird, and I just wasn't expecting it. It kind of caught me off guard. But let's keep going. You'll see more lights start coming into frame pretty soon. I'm narrating this as best as I can. We're just gonna watch along, and it's kind of slow at times, but I'm doing my best here. Now you can see another one further to the right moving to the left, and they're gonna cross paths. So this is the second time this happens, and it's gonna happen a third time. So these ones here are pretty far away, you can tell. But yeah, it's just weird here. You'll see the other one coming into frame now on the left, the bottom left. And they're gonna intercept each other, and there they just crossed paths. And yeah, super, super weird. And then I kind of just track the light that's in the middle of the screen right now. It eventually disappears behind the tree that's on the left. So that's the most interesting stuff in this clip. Let's move on to the next one. Here I'm just tracking a singular orb, which, you look at this and you'll be like, wow, Justin, you're just filming satellites again. Like always, you're always filming these satellites. Can't you see you know, the truth behind this. They're not UFOs. You're seeing stuff. Well, you can kind of faintly see another one on the left moving in the same direction. There's actually two there. And then another one comes in. Now that's moving up from the right to the left. So there's actually 3 objects there. Now, I mean, you could say any one of those is a satellite, right? But just let's keep going on and let's go through more of the footage. And eventually you'll see that, wow, these probably aren't satellites. These are like either craft of some kind, light craft, or beings of some kind. It's hard to tell, you know. A lot of people see light anomalies when they're encountering these aliens or UFOs. It appears as light, not metallic flying saucers. I've never once filmed a metallic flying saucer. It's always light beings or entities or whatever they are. And it's because I think there's a spectrum of like alien beings, right? I think there's lower frequency ones, lower vibrational ones that travel distances from point A to point B in some sort of craft, like metallic UFO craft. And then I'm of the belief that there's beings that are so highly evolved and are of such a high vibrational frequency that they travel just by consciousness. Like they're not traveling distances. They have the ability to be wherever they want, whenever they want. That's what I think. And it's just a theory, but all of my experiences have led me to believe that. So this clip's kind of like not that interesting. There's just, now you can see the one light moving. Well, there's actually 2 moving. There's one below it, kind of, it's quite faint on the bottom, kind of to the right a little bit. Let's move on to the next clip. So now things are getting a bit more interesting. We have a blue light and a yellow one moving together. This really reminded me of the thing I saw on July 12th this summer. I had filmed a blue orb, a really bright blue one, and it had a yellow light flying with it that was a lot smaller. I don't know if it's because they were 2 different distances away or if because one was just bigger than the other, but this was interesting. And this was filmed, you can see, on the 5th. Now on the 7th, I filmed the same thing again, which is very interesting, and you'll see that at the end of the video, which I think that's really cool that the same thing showed up. But usually they fly in pairs like this. And on the 6th, I filmed multiple pairs of UFOs as well. I like these kinds of clips because it really shows that these things like to move together, and they're not just like satellites. They're paired up in some sort of way. They can communicate with each other. And yeah, super fascinating. Here we have one that's a little bit closer. I couldn't tell if it was like getting brighter and dimmer or not. I think I was just imagining it. There's also some in the background like that are more faint moving around that you'll notice. You'll notice a lot of things in the video that I probably won't like see while I'm narrating this. But I think with this one, I was trying to figure out if it was like getting brighter and dimmer or not, and I think I was just tripping. Maybe I'm not. Just a basic, orb flying from right to left. Nothing too crazy to report. In this clip, I tracked it for a little while, but let's move on. Okay, now in this clip, we're on the 6th of November. You can see a pair of these things moving from top to bottom. One of them looks a little bit further away. But it starts to get really interesting here because I film this pair and I film another pair, and you'll just see how crazy it starts to get. The 7th, which was yesterday, is the most incredible in my opinion, and you will see why very shortly. I basically just tracked this pair until they disappeared, so nothing like really flashy happens. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, we have another pair. This one, both of these are a little bit brighter, but I pan the camera up just to show you that there's no other ones other than these 2, so you don't think it's like Starlink or something like that, because usually when it's Starlink there's a whole train of them, but there's just a pair, and these ones flew directly overhead, and these ones were headed in the direction of like the northwest, and they just kind of disappear behind the trees. And it was interesting. The 6th, there were a lot of pairs of these things, And the next clip, though, is kind of interesting because a plane was flying over, and you can see some of these lights moving around, and then there was like a weird flash of light that you'll see. Let's have a look at that one right now. Okay, here's this plane flying over, and it's hard to see, but there's a faint light moving down that's above the plane. It's moving in a downward direction. It's super, super faint, but you'll see the plane go out of frame, and then there'll be a flash. You see that? There was a little flash there. I'll play it again. I don't know what that flash is, but it was just one flash. And I thought that was interesting and a little bit unusual, because every now and then you'll see these flashes, and you'll point the camera there, and you'll know that that's where you should be pointing the camera, because then a bunch of crazy things will happen. But yeah, I don't know what to make of that, really. Okay, so this thing here, this light that I'm tracking in the distance, it was blinking, like it was getting brighter and dimmer and brighter and dimmer. This is on the 6th. This was one of the last things I filmed on the 6th. And it's important to note because I filmed something on the 7th that ends up being this same thing, but it does something really, really strange. And it confirms that, you know, it's definitely more than something man-made. It's not man-made. It's not a satellite. You'll see. Let's get into that right now. Let's go to the 7th of November. Okay, so it is the 7th. It is 5:58 p.m. And even though it says 6:58 in the bottom corner, it's an hour off, like I said. See this same blinking light? It's at a little bit higher of an altitude, and it goes behind the tree here, so you can't see it for a moment. But now there's another light blinking further to the right of the frame, kind of behind that branch. So there's two of them. Now, this is one of the most interesting clips I've ever filmed, and you're gonna see why very soon. The light that's blinking on the right of the frame actually stops moving. It's kind of moving to the right now, but it stops. And the camera I'm filming on has like digital, really like not very great digital zoom. And you'll see I engage that zoom to zoom in on the object on the left, and just I track it for a bit. I also turned on the infrared light there for a second just to see what it looks like, but I zoom in on it. I think I turn the IR off. There, now we have color. It's like kind of green with a red blinking and like a really bright, it's just weird. You'd think at first glance that this is like an aircraft, right? Like an airplane or something, or maybe a helicopter. Now, it's moving towards the other light that has actually stopped, but you don't see it because I'm zoomed in. I end up zooming out, so you'll see the video get a little bit sharper, and now watch this. It slows right down, and then it comes to a complete stop, and then it takes off again. Like, what? What are these things? What are these things? Here, I'll play it again here. I'm sorry for blowing out the mic in my excitement with extra loud narration, but look at that. Like, that's not a helicopter, that's not an airplane. Helicopters don't just like meet up like that and stop mid-flight unless they're doing like a power check at like 10,000 feet, but that's not what was going on there. Super, super weird. I'm also just noticing now when it approaches, you can see another light blinking down below. Looks like the same kind of thing. See that blinking? So there's like 3 of them. Okay, before I show the actual fleet of UFOs, like the big fleet in all their glory, I wanted to show this. This I filmed on the 7th as well, but I filmed it after the fleet. I just want to show it before I show that clip, because I think the fleet is the big finale. So I'll play that after this. But this was the last thing I filmed last night, which was the 7th. The blue orb and the yellow orb again, the same thing I filmed on the 6th. So I thought that was interesting. That they showed up and the blue light kind of fades out, and now it's just a yellow one. So I just wanted to throw that in there because that is definitely an interesting detail. Let's move on to the fleet. Okay, so this is where you're going to see the whole fleet of UFOs in all their glory. You see a blink there? There's like a blink. That's what I noticed. And I'm like, oh, I should get that on film. So I point the camera towards this blinking thing, and I don't have the infrared on right now. It's just the regular mode or whatever. And then I turn it on, and you will see all these things come into frame, all these orbs. And this shows, like, man, these aren't satellites, these are something else. See, they all start coming into frame all at once. Like, this is crazy. And they, like, a bunch of them keep just coming into frame and zipping around, and it's like a fleet of them. It's a fleet of these things. And this, when I saw this, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Because they just keep coming, they keep showing up. And it's, yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna let the clip play out, because there's a lot that goes on, and you guys can just replay it as much as you want. Just watch all these lights enter into the frame from all different directions. They're coming in from, like, the right, you know, from all directions. A whole bunch of them. This is a fleet of UFOs, guys. They're here. They are here. You know, the invasion has begun. No, it's not an invasion. These things are harmless. They're not going to hurt us. But they are here. And it's interesting how this started happening on, like, the 5th of November. I just thought that was a really interesting detail. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll just let this clip play out for you guys, but I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries.